This might be a rather ambitious project of mine right here, but I'm an ambitious girl. So hello, my good people of YouTube. I'm here to continue a series of mine that I like to call Reality TV Seasons Hannah version, where I give you the DLTR of a season of reality television, because I think reality TV is the GOAT of television. However, I acknowledge that it has some boring parts to it, and I want you to be able to enjoy it without the stuff that doesn't matter. So today I'm going to be covering season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, if you don't know what Drag Race is, like if you've been living under a rock or something, because it really is the America's Next Top Model of our generation, in my opinion. It is a reality competition show that involves drag queens. What's a drag queen, you might ask, if you are like a Mormon or something? Basically, it's a performer who performs as a woman. I'll get into this, but this season of Drag Race, I would think, has a different definition of this. But it can be anyone. You can be cis, trans, whatever. Even if you're like a cis woman, like you can do drag. It's really just being an exaggerated woman. I would say that's kind of like the core definition of what being a drag queen is. There's even something called a drag king, where you're being an exaggerated man. So really, it can be anything you want. But Drag Race is a competition of these drag queens where they perform a variety of entertainment to see who is the best drag queen of their season. And I will say this, it has become a phenomenon of a show. And when you watch it, you understand why, because it really is just like a cultural zeitgeist of a bunch of things. I remember hearing about Drag Race for the first time, but I think it took me like a year to realize that it wasn't just about like
race car drivers.
When I learned that it was drag queens, that made a lot more sense to me, because I really couldn't see how a show about race cars would be that entertaining. And the way that people talked about it, it made it seem like it was like the best show on television. And so I was very confused by that for like a year. But eventually I did learn what Drag Race was. I first started watching it during season 8, and then I had gone back and I watched pretty much every season except for season 1. So this was actually my first time seeing season 1. And that's because like back when I first started watching it, season 1 was truly like a lost season. And having now watched it, I understand why. Just as a show itself, it is not as good as the other seasons. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, the production value is just... If you've never seen season 1, but you've heard people talk about it, you always hear them bring up this thing called the season 1 filter. And that's because season 1 just
looked horrendous.
I don't even know if it's really a filter or if it was like the lighting plus the cameras, because it almost made it seem like the reason why it looked the way it did was just because it had such horrific lighting and the cameras were bad. And so like the whole screen just looks like kind of blurry and fuzzy and like kind of orange too. It looks really bad. Like my iPhone does a better job recording than this TV show did. My lighting right now is better than what this TV show's lighting was back then.
It's really bad.
I know I was in this boat for a while, but I think a lot of people just kind of refuse to watch it because it just looks so bad. And honestly, I can't blame them for it. The other thing that I think makes season 1 not as good as the others is, frankly, it's much slower than the other seasons. As in, like, there's like not much drama. And I would say drama is kind of like a key point in Drag Race, especially the early seasons. Like, if you're thinking like seasons 2 through 7, like it's hard to think of those seasons without its core drama points. And so the fact that there's just really not much of it at all in this season, I think really drags down the entertainment value. You know, I feel like there might have been things going on in the background, because it felt like the drama came more from the confessionals than it was you ever seeing anything going on between like the queens. Like, it didn't seem like any of them like got into many arguments. Like, they'd talk about them behind their backs, but not in front of their face. I think the show was relying on the shock value of like them being drag queens themselves in order to like pull the season along, which like obviously as more seasons of the show goes on, like you can't really like do that. But since this is the first season and drag itself was like not very socially acceptable, I understand why they took that angle. It just, from a viewer now, it's like,
all right,
cool. And going along with that, the way that they talked about drag too is just, it's very different from how they talk about it now. There was much more of an emphasis on like how drag is being a female impersonator, and they really tried to drive home the point of like, just because I'm a female impersonator, that doesn't mean I want to be a woman, which is honestly just not a talking point that they would use nowadays. Thankfully, now Drag Race has really embraced the trans community. It has not always been that way, by the way. If you're like a more recent fan, there was certainly a time in the show's history where it felt like being trans disqualified you from being on the show, which a lot of, especially former contestants that were on the show and then became trans women, spoke out against a lot. I think it was Peppermint who was the first openly trans woman. Like, she auditioned as a trans woman and then she got on the show as a trans woman. And then Kylie Sonique Love was the first trans winner of the show. And so if you think about that being season 9 and All-Star 6, it did take a while for us to get there. And so especially watching back season 1 and seeing how they talk about it and how they try to justify their careers, it's interesting to see how the view in drag has shifted, especially amongst the show itself. Season 1 also has like quite a few like outdated terms that they don't use anymore. There's the one really infamous one, which I don't even really want to say because I think it's a slur, but it's like kind of their version of Tyra Mail. If you know, you know. But I guess what I would feel comfortable quoting out is how the tagline of the show used to always be, "Gentlemen, start your engines and may the best woman win." Now I think it's just "Start your engines and may the best drag queen win." It's a lot more inclusive. And I think this is all good things. I just think it's all interesting to see how the show has shifted since it first started. And then the last thing I just want to say that I think makes season 1 not as good as the others is, oh boy, the fashion it's something. One of the first things I think of is just Rebecca Glasscock's like entrance look. And then compare that to any entrance look that is on the show. It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. And I mean, that's because the show itself changed the drag culture, you know? It's made it a lot more elevated, and I think to some people that could be for the better or for the worst. And so, you know, it's just a different time. And these are really like queens that, you know, started the trend. I would say it feels like modern seasons, a lot of the queens became drag queens because of Drag Race. And so I really do like seeing the drag queens who were just drag queens because that's what they felt called to do. And it was before it became socially acceptable to everyone. And so I think that's really cool to look at personally. So that's my spiel on season 1 right now. And now we're gonna get into a full recap. So I hope you stayed along with my rant. But I felt like those were all important points to keep in mind while we start this journey of season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I have one thing to say. You better work.
Okay, so we have 9 contestants total, and they are Chanel,
Sexy! My persona has always tried to be a little more on the realistic side.
Nina Flowers, Rebecca Glasscock, Angina, Victoria Pork Chop Parker, Akasha,
If I was a girl, I would be a stripper or a slut and pregnant with a whole bunch of children.
Tammy Brown. I love Tammy Brown.
I am the character. What's going on? Well, this show. Crazy, huh? Popcorn and Cracker Jack. Okay.
But every time I look at Tammy, she was staring at me and she was winking. And she was creepy.
Jade, and Bibi Zahara Benet. Who are they? We will learn throughout this competition. The cash prize is only for $20,000, which is crazy. Some of these girls nowadays, when they go on the show, might just win $20,000 on a main challenge. That was the winning prize here.
Crazy.
Their first mini challenge is a photo shoot done by Mike Ruiz. You're a Drag Race fan, you've heard that name tons of times, I feel like. It's clearly meant to be like a sexy photo shoot.
We're gonna have sexy Paris Hilton moment.
Okay.
Where they're on like a car and there's like the pit crew men around them and then they're like spraying water at them. I think it's really funny. No, I don't think the challenge was very funny. I think Tammy Brown was really funny in it.
Okay, and we got the shot. All right.
But I do think it was weird that RuPaul was at everyone else's photo shoot and not Tammy Brown's. I feel like he was like, I can't bear witness to that. I love Tammy Brown. The main challenge is drag on a dime. It's where they have to create an outfit with like garbage. It's very classic early Drag Race comp. I was a little confused about like what they were supposed to use exactly as their clothing material, because it seemed like they did have like actual garments that they could pull from to use, but they still wanted them to like try to incorporate garbage, you know?
I don't know.
And then we start to see RuPaul going around the workroom as if he's like Tim Gunn himself. It's kind of funny because he's a lot more like casual with them in this first season. Like he talks to them as if they're his peers and not like he's their mother, which is kind of what it is nowadays. And then by the end of them making their garment, it seems as if Rebecca is the most nervous about it. She even ends up like scrapping her original outfit and makes something from scratch like the day of. But otherwise, we don't get too much of a vibe of like who's doing super poorly. Of course, they're showing Pork Chop more. And if you see the outfit, it like looks terrible. And so you might be able to tell where this is going from here.
Also, if you're a fan and you've just never seen this season before, you probably already know, just based off the name.
So the main judges alongside RuPaul are Merle Ginsburg and Santino Rice. Merle's kind of like the original Michelle, which I always forget that Michelle wasn't an original judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. It feels like she should be, but we get Merle instead. And she's a nice lady. I don't have anything against Merle, but she's no Michelle, you know? And then Santino, the guest judges for this episode are Mike Ruiz, who did their photo shoot, and Bob Mackie, which I feel like that's a nice poll. I don't really know who Bob Mackie is. I know he's a designer. I know that Kimora Hall is from the House of Hall! From the House of Hall! Chicago's Mackie doll! And so that's what I associate Bob Mackie with. So that seems cool. So basically regarding their outfits, In my personal opinion, if I was a judge and I was judging all of this, Nina, I thought was looking Christmas fabulous. I love her jacket. Akasha is wearing a poorly cut dress with barely any fabric on it to begin with. So that's kind of a fail. Like, if you're barely gonna wear anything, at least like cut it right, you know? I think Angina looks cute, but I think it looks a little shapeless. I feel as if her personality made up for kind of how horrible the dress looked itself, you know? Unfortunately, Porkchop's outfit is absolutely hideous.
I hate my outfit.
Also, I know her drag name is Victoria, but I feel like I can't call her anything other than Porkchop, you know? I think Phoebe's look is cute. I think it's very safe, but it's cute. Chanel's outfit is very well done. It's like an intricate swimsuit. By this season's standards, it's probably one of the more impressive looks. I will say that I do love that in her voiceover, she's already justifying why the judges aren't reacting to her outfit the way that she wants them to.
I have a feeling that the judges in their mind already think, oh, she thinks she's gonna win this, so we're going to give her no reaction as to not boost her confidence level any more than it probably already is.
I love Chanel. She's my delusional queen. Jade has a cute, like, kind of African-inspired look. Again, I think it's very safe, but it's cute. I do think that Rebecca's new dress that she made up is kind of ugly, personally. And so I might be biased, but I did love Tammy's look. I thought that was really cute and vintage, and I'm a vintage girly, you know? I just like what I like. But I do think if I had to pick a winner, I would probably go with Nina. I thought her jacket was really well constructed, and I thought it looked like interesting and original. I found Chanel's look a little tacky, but I do think it was like made well. And while I think that Tammy had more of a look that was more like my personal style, I do think that Nina's and Chanel's were probably like better made than hers. It's hard to like judge some of the styles because the fashion has changed so much. Also, it's very easy to just hate everything that comes down the runway. So I'm trying to be generous with like some things, you know? So it's revealed that Jade, Chanel, BB, and Tammy are all safe. And I know Chanel must be fuming at this. I thought I was gonna be able to like watch an Untucked episode and see if she was, but it turns out that there is no Untucked for season 1 of Drag Race, so I guess I'll never know. So the tops end up being Angina and Nina. I do think that Angina's dress is uglier up close, if I'm being honest. But I think the judges liked that it was kind of unconventional, like she used loofahs and stuff. And I think they really liked her personality. And so since it's like the first episode and they're still getting to know them, I think they just wanted to like acknowledge Angina because they really liked her personality, you know? They do think that she's a little too boy, and that's one of my critiques for the early seasons of Drag Race. It's really not until like season 7 that they're even okay with like a little bit of androgyny. I feel like nowadays it's now so much more about like the art of transformation that it is like trying to become a woman. And so you don't hear this critique anymore. But in the early days, they really hated anything that was anything but feminine, you know? And so the fact that Angina is a bald queen really makes them think like, oh, you're not a drag queen, you're a boy. And so she just gets inherent like criticisms from that, which I don't love, but
It's the way of things, you know?
I can't go back and make them say something different. And then Nina, they loved, and I agree. Rue mentions wanting to see like a softer side of her since she is so punk, but overall they love it, and I agree. The bottoms are Porkchop, Akasha, and Rebecca. Though I will say I was a little confused if Rebecca was in the top or the bottom. I do think that she was in the bottom, but the way that the judges talked about her was very wishy-washy, which is kind of par for the course of Drag Race and their tops and bottoms, I'm not gonna lie. Porkchop just overall had bad critiques. I mean, that outfit is god-awful. They told Akasha that she looked uncomfortable and cheap, which I can't disagree with that, you know. So it's revealed that Ongina and Rebecca are safe, and Nina wins the first challenge, meaning she also has immunity for the next week. And therefore, we have our first lip sync for your life! Now, I think the lip syncs for your lives are very important, and I don't want to get copyrighted by showing them. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to record my own versions of the song in a very off-key way. And then you get to watch them lip sync to my voice, because I think that would be funny. So
you better work. Better work. Cover girl. Work it girl. Give a twirl. But it doesn't what you wear. Matter what you wear. They're checking out your savoir-faire. Ooh, ooh.
TBH, they're both like really messy in their lip sync.
Work, turn to the left. Work, now turn to the right. Work, sachet, Shantae. Work, supermodder. Work, work. I would say Pork Chop clearly lost, if only because she clearly didn't know the words to it.
I have one thing to say. You better work.
Akasha stays, and Pork Chop becomes a legend. If you know anything about Drag Race, it's kind of like well known that whoever's the first out of the season is known as like the Pork Chop, which I would say is overall like a very endearing term that the fandom uses. Like they don't mean it in like a mean way towards Pork Chop. It's almost like a badge of honor. And I do think that the first outs tend to be more memorable than like the second or third out, you know? So Pork Chop herself doesn't seem to be like very active on social media. I looked up her Instagram and it doesn't seem like she's posted since 2019, but it does seem like she's still doing drag, especially like when I looked at her tagged stuff. It looks like, you know, there's people coming to shows and whatnot. Again, I think the community loves her, so I don't think there's really much ill will with Pork Chop. She's kind of just a legend in her own right.
She's Beyonce.
All right, so with Pork Chop going home, we're now in the top 8 and on episode 2. The Minis challenge is like them doing selfies. Brew just picks whoever he likes the best, which is Ongina, which I agree with. I think Ongina made some really good faces in her selfies. And then she picks Akasha because one of the prompts was like, Cher retires. And Akasha was happy at that prospect, and Rue thought that was bold. And so Rue wanted to reward her. So because they won the mini challenge, they become the team captains for the main challenge, where they are forming 2 rival girl groups. So in a normal season of Drag Race, they'd probably perform like their own original songs, but in this one, they're both performing to Destiny Child's songs, which I think is kind of interesting. They wouldn't do that now. Ongina's team is her, Chanel, Nina, and Rebecca. And Akasha's team is her, Jade, BB, and Tammy. Tammy gets picked last, and then she says the craziest line.
I'm with the black girls.
Yeah.
Can you get jiggy?
I can get jiggy. I can get jiggy and wiggy.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
I'm scared of you.
So the Rupaul lets the girls pick between the 2 songs themselves, but it basically just turns onto a full fight, like physical fight between Akasha and Ongina.
Like grab any of the envelopes.
And it was kind of weird. Akasha won though, and so she got to pick the songs. Personally, I don't think it really mattered which song they actually ended up going for. Like, it wasn't gonna save or hurt them either way, in my opinion. When we look at the 2 groups, it's very clear that like Ongina's group is very collaborative, and Ongina like listens to everyone. And then Akasha feels more like a dictator.
Akasha is the director. Akasha is the producer. She's Beyonce.
And I feel like the synergy isn't very like cohesive in her group. You can tell that Tammy herself is like getting very frustrated with the group. The only thing with Angina's group that might show that they're not doing well is that Angina's choreography is like a little complicated for the girls.
Whoa, what just happened?
It's kind of funny to watch them try to do it, but
I'm gonna cut someone.
I still think Akasha's team seems like a train wreck, I'm not gonna lie. Along with being a dictator, Akasha's just really messy. Like, she's just not very good at this challenge. Angina's group agrees that their group is going to be called Serving Fish. Fish means that they look like girls. I don't know why. Meanwhile, Akasha's team is a little too dysfunctional to actually figure that out.
We're called the Golden Holes.
Also, Tammy's very vocal about how she hates being there.
Weird, and I don't like being here.
And everyone else is pretty vocal about how they think Tammy is weird. So Michelle Williams of Destiny Child is one of the guest judges there. And so is this guy named Frank Gatson, and I don't know who he is. Michelle's a fun judge though, I like her.
Do I have security?
So when they're doing the groups, Angina's group I think was good.
Name, say my name, acting kinda shady, ain't calling me baby, why the sudden change?
Nina was probably the roughest, but she also had immunity, so...
I sucked.
Also, again, I think it's funny that Chanel is just so impressed with herself. Like, you go girl, you have that confidence.
Around you.
I am amazed at myself.
I wish I had that confidence. Akasha's group looked like a hot mess.
The shoes on my feet, I bought it. The clothes I'm wearing, I bought it. The rock I'm rocking, I bought it. Cause I depend on me.
Though I will say, BB and J did a very good job. So when I say that Akasha's group looked like a hot mess, I really mean that Akasha and Tammy looked like a hot mess.
I bought it, the car I'm driving, I bought it cause I depend.
Based off the judging, you can tell that they also thought Akasha's group was a hot mess. And you can tell that they thought Tammy and Akasha were the hot messes of the group.
You're completely out of your element here. You know it.
Well, I did what I did.
And so that's what happened. Tammy and Akasha are in the bottom two, and Angina wins the challenge because she was the team leader. I think that's very fair. So in front of Michelle Williams, they sing her song, We Break the Dawn. And Tammy just doesn't lip sync at all.
Something about them snows so night. Something that makes me know that everything's alright. There's something in the way that the stars align.
I decided that if it was me, I would not be doing that song.
It would be more disappointing if Akasha didn't also just kill the lip sync, but Akasha did kill the lip sync and made Michelle Williams cry.
Break the dawn. Pull back the sun, don't let it stop. Ain't stopping for no one. No one.
And so, my personal favorite, Tammy Brown, sachets away on episode 2.
Buenas noches.
Tammy does return for All-Stars 1, which we'll get into the reunion in this little special of mine, but that's kind of a shocking thing. I'm not gonna lie that they let her return for season 1 of All-Stars.
Tammy, you are just so lovely and unique, and you will be remembered forever and ever.
Overall, Tammy is like pretty active in drag and in the community still. She has over like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and I would say that she's like kind of a cult favorite amongst drag race people. I feel like if you're huge into drag race, you quote Tammy Brown quite a bit, because she's just an icon. In fact, she's such like a cult personality that Angeria, who is a future All-Stars winner, played Tammy Brown for the Snatch Game. So
that's pretty significant.
This is your name. Good night.
Now, at the top 7, we are on episode 3, where their mini challenge is a little pop quiz. At first, I thought it was just general knowledge, and then it's revealed that it's trivia revolving around Oprah.
I don't know anything about Oprah.
So for their main challenge, they have to channel their inner Oprah and create an Oprah-inspired look. Chanel starts off saying that she is very into Oprah.
If she's here, I will die. I know. No, you don't understand. Oprah and Cher are God.
She's very emphatic about it. And she says it's the reason why she lost so much weight. Why is that? I don't know. But she talks about it. There was almost like a very controversial moment that might have possibly happened in this episode where Jade seems to think that the point of the challenge is to look like Oprah. And she starts to try to darken her skin because of it. Thankfully, the other girls very quickly correct her on this and say that no, you don't have to look exactly like Oprah. You just have to embody her. And Jade's like, oh, thank God. And then like starts to backtrack. But that could have gone really poorly. So I was a little confused by this challenge at first because for like the first half of it, the only thing that they really talk about is like having to look like Oprah. And to me, that didn't seem like much of a challenge, but Ru does come in and tell them that they are doing more stuff than just like looking like Oprah. Basically, they have to pretend to be like TV hosts just like Oprah, and they do like 3 different kind of segments. The first one is where they have to read off of a teleprompter, and these girls can't read.
With Iran President Mohammed Ahmadinejad.
Muhan Ahmadinejad.
I can't really blame them because they sound like how I try to like read off of things. So I can't really judge, but these girls can't read. I do feel bad for Nina though, because she is the Puerto Rican queen, which, just for the record, I love Puerto Rican queens. They're like some of my favorite from like each season of the show. And Nina is no exception. But kind of the struggle that the Puerto Rican queens have is that their native language is not English. It's usually Spanish. You know, they talk about how like they think in Spanish and they have to translate it. And so when there's like a challenge that specifically involves like talking, it can be a little hard because, you know, they're like having to actively translate things in their head. And, you know, I just can't imagine like how difficult that must be, like being in a competition that's not in like your native language. Like I can't imagine. But as far as the teleprompter goes, I think that Angina is really the only one that does well. BB does okay too. Like I won't fault BB on it. Nina almost does so bad in a way that it's just funny.
This is your name. Good night.
Like she's making Ru laugh at least, which is kind of like the goal of any of these challenges. They also have to do like a little like infomercial thing, which is kind of similar to the teleprompter, but then they're ending it with an interview with Tori Spelling and Dean, which I don't know who Dean is. I think that's her husband. And I think they used to have like a reality show together, but I don't really know. I was too young for it. But they're actually kind of fun in it. I think they're kind of funny.
Honestly, the most I know about Tori Spelling is that Adam from season 13 of Big Brother was really into Tori Spelling. He really liked her. That's the most I know about Tori Spelling.
So their runway is just best drag. It's not Oprah inspired, which is what I thought it was gonna be. And their guest judges in this episode is Deborah Wilton Skelton, who's a comedian, and I think in her comedy sets does an Oprah impression. And Howard Bragman, who is a media consultant. I don't know why Tori Spelling and Dean couldn't be on. As far as the runways go, I thought Chanel looked great. This is a stellar look from her. Yeah, that's an iconic look. It's truly an iconic look for her. Angina seems very cute. It feels very her. Rebecca is pretty as always, but I think her hair looks a little weird in my opinion. I thought Nina's look was cool. It feels very different from her, but I think it works. Jade's look, I liked the top half, but I didn't like the bottom half very much. I love BB's hair. This is a great and iconic look from BB, as always. And this is the second brown look that we see on Akasha. And I don't think it works for her. I think she needs lighter colors, like brighter colors, personally. She also fell, but it was kind of like an iconic fall. Like, she fell, but she made it fashion.
Work it.
If it was up to me, just based off what we saw, I think Angina would win, and I would put Jade and Akasha in the bottom two.
Just noticed in my notes, I didn't explain like why I would think that.
Akasha's kind of iconic in the challenge because she just like, one, she can't read, and two, her interview I think was the funniest. Like,
Well, say goodnight to everyone. Good night, everyone.
she like didn't acknowledge Tori or Dean like at all before or after the interview, which is like high-key funny.
I just think I rocked that interview.
Hi. She didn't say goodbye to us. She just walked away.
Jade, I just think was like so stiff. Like no star quality there. She read off the teleprompter like how I read things.
Chancellor Angela Merkel were applaud. Merkel saying in statement, Ahmadinejad can do better.
And then if it was up to me, I think Angina would win, but BB does end up winning the challenge, and I think that's perfectly fair too. I just think that Angina was a little more natural in the like teleprompter commercial interview. Like it felt like that was a very natural thing for her to do. But I think BB did well in it as well. And also I think her look for the night was fantastic. So I'm not mad about BB winning at all. I just think I'd personally give it to Angina over BB. The bottom two do end up being Akasha and Chanel though. I just think Jade did worse. But I feel like the judges hate Chanel and they wanted to punish her for being too confident.
You were always one of my true fans.
Huh?
You are her truest fan.
So this is Akasha's third time in the bottom too. So things are not looking good for her.
I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
In the lip sync, there is an iconic moment where Chanel finally shows her vulnerability to the judges and her headdress slips off. And she takes it off and she just keeps going.
The greatest love of all, it's easy to achieve.
This is like a very like iconic moment in Drag Race history. But it's also very well known now that she did this all on purpose so that she could look vulnerable, which we love a strategic queen. It's also very funny because in these first couple seasons of Drag Race, really up until like season 4, I'd say it did not take much time for this to turn around on them. But there was very much this like culture that if you took off your wig, it showed like vulnerability and it made you like win the lip sync. It's like, oh wow, she's like so passionate about this lip sync that she took off her wig. Which nowadays, if you take off your wig, you like automatically lose the lip sync. So I think that's an important thing with these lip syncs to keep in mind, that like taking off your wig was not seen as like a bad thing at the time. It was seen like it was very powerful. And so that's what this moment was all about. Plus, like, I mean, honestly, were they really gonna keep Akasha for the third time? I think she did well. Like, I think this was a good lip sync. And I think it's the first lip sync where both people like actually performed well in it. But I mean, Chanel stays and Akasha goes home. She was kind of a fun villain, I'm not gonna lie. She had some funny lines.
I saw Chanel, I was like, oh, another skank with her butt hanging out. I thought I was gonna be the only one that had my butt hanging out. Hers is a little flabby, it jiggles. Mine is solid muscles, so it doesn't like move at all. So I mean, it just depends on what you're into.
So, you know, Akasha, you'll be missed. You'll be missed. I really can't tell based off socials if Akasha still does drag. I'm having a hard time finding anything. The wiki says that she stopped in 2017, but she returned for season 10, and maybe that made her start doing it again. And it also says on the wiki that she would do All-Stars if she was asked. I also feel like I might have found an Instagram page of hers, but it has like only 200 followers, and so it makes me think that it's just as likely that it's just like a fan-created page to like try to be her and get followers. So I don't know. Akash, if you're out there, you do you, girl. You did great. Kind of.
You were funny at least.
Mama, kudos for saying that, for spilling. Like, seriously, oh my god.
Now for episode 4, and what is this, the top 6? I think it's the top 6. We start off the episode where they took the mirrors away. That's weird. And then RuPaul holds like a therapy session with them where she makes the other girls like give each other advice, but it's all like very backhanded.
It feels very messy.
And then RuPaul like pairs them all up to do like makeup on each other. And that's why they took the mirrors away, because they didn't want them to see what the other girl was doing as far as like their makeup. I personally don't think that anyone really bombed during this mini challenge. They all looked fine. I think the worst part was just the coloring. Like, you know, if you're doing makeup on a girl who's not your skin tone, like you probably don't know like what shades exactly to use. But other than that, I think they all looked fine. I think they were just being dramatic when they thought that they didn't look good in the other girl's makeup. RuPaul says that she thinks that Chanel and Jade did the best in this mini challenge, but Ru ultimately gives Jade the win for it. And you can tell that Chanel is starting to get really pissy about not winning anything. And I feel as if it's on purpose at this point. I don't think they like a confident queen. So for their main challenge, they are doing a makeup screen test for MAC Cosmetics. And it's specifically for a makeup line whose funds directly goes to HIV/AIDS relief. Obviously, as drag queens and being a part of the LGBT community, this is a very like important cause for them to be doing a message for. And you can tell that a lot of the girls are very affected by the like having to talk about it and promote it. Because it's very much something that affects all of them, even if it's not like affecting them directly, you know? So I would say this episode is where Rebecca really starts rubbing the other girls the wrong way. And I would say this is like pretty much like the only source of drama that comes on in the show, like at all.
No one has seen my personality because the other girls won't shut up.
But like basically the other girls don't like Rebecca and they don't think that she's that good and should still be in the competition. Low key, I think Rebecca's funny because she's so monotoned and bitchy that the way things come across, I'm like, that's low-key funny. But she kind of starts to become just like the core drama, in my opinion. Even in the challenge, like she starts to get in her own head because she's thinking about her best friend who has HIV/AIDS, and she ends up walking off mid-set. And it's a little dramatic. And like, I can empathize because I think that would be a really hard thing to discuss. I can tell though that the other girls, I feel like they very much view this as like a tactic to get out of doing poorly. They definitely don't trust what's going on here. And, you know, I don't know what's true. She does reveal in the reunion episode that I guess now she's a bit estranged from that best friend. And so that certainly makes it feel a little less ingenuous, but I really can't say. Let's just say that it's not the most impactful story either that we'll end up hearing from this episode. So the other funny thing that I think happens is that Chanel just yaps through her screen test.
We all know that MAC has revolutionized the cosmetic. In 1998, my best friend Patricia and I decided that we were going to go to a MAC store. 2 years before that, my mother called me and wanted me to help her sort out that tube of lipstick that helped me get through. Every time you pass by a MAC store and you pick up a tube, everybody to be able to come together.
She seemingly didn't realize that they only needed like 30 seconds of something that she was doing. And she just goes on this full story. And I love her and her delusions. I think they're fantastic. I think it's the best part of the show, is Chanel and her delusions. The guest judges for this episode are Gordon Expinay, who is the MAC vice president, and supermodel/actress Jenny Shimizu, who I don't know who that is. So the runway, I do like Jade's like Matrix look. I think that looks cool. BB's hat, I think, is fabulous. And in a way, I do kind of like this outfit, but I also hate this outfit. I don't know what to think. I feel like I'm looking at it with too modern of a lens, to be quite honest. I found Rebecca's look very underwhelming. I do love Angina's look. It feels very Carrie Bradshaw, you know. I also love Nina's look. I really like the feathers. I thought those were cool. And then Chanel juggles down the runway. It's very impressive. But I also don't think that it will help with her showboat allegations, you know? Also, the outfit's just a swimsuit, and so the outfit itself is fine. The juggling, though, that's very impressive. Oh, and I hadn't realized this, but I guess whoever wins gets to actually be like a spokesperson for MAC Cosmetics for this makeup line. So that's really cool too. So they go through like the different critiques of the girls. I can tell that they don't really like Jade's, but I personally thought it was fine. When they show Rebecca's, I didn't think it was bad as what it could have been, especially since she didn't use up all her time. It was just like very serious, but I think that kind of worked for like the campaign that they were having. But it is clear that Rue didn't like the fact that she just walked off set. So you can tell that that's gonna go against her. Angina's was very cute.
Educate, donate, and celebrate, because life is a celebration.
It was very well done. I also feel like this is like the third or fourth time that the guest judge was like,
"Oh my God, I love your name."
I feel like that's half the points that Angina gets, is the guest judge hears her name and they go,
"I want her.
I want her," which, fair. So Chanel's dream test really wasn't that great, but I'm just peeved at the fact that Santino really is the #1 Chanel hater and juggler hater at that fact. Just let her live. Let her showboat. Let her do her thing. She's fine. I personally think that Nina's commercial was kind of a mess, but she's so like charming that it doesn't matter. And I feel that way with like everything that Nina does. I love Nina Flowers. And I also think that BB did a good job. Hers was very like subtle, but also very powerful. So if I had to pick who to win, it would probably be between BB and Angina, but I think I would ultimately go with Angina. I think she did a really good job. And then as far as the bottom goes, I'd probably do Rebecca and Chanel. And I am mostly correct with this judging of mine. Angina does win, and then after her win, she reveals that she herself is HIV positive. And it's a very powerful moment on the show.
I've been living with HIV for the last 2 years of my life.
It also, I think, just makes her a really great spokesperson for the cause itself. And it's one of, like, I think the best moments of the season is her revealing her HIV status and, you know, getting the win right beforehand, too. It's very heartwarming. And then in the end, Rebecca and Jade are the two that are in the bottom two. I think it's fair if you were to give Chanel the boost on her like outfit and juggling, but I kind of think that the reason why Jade is in the bottom two is just because the production just doesn't care for her. I think they just reached a point where she's just very underwhelming and they don't really care to keep her. They lip sync and to this day, I don't really understand how Rebecca won over Jade in this lip sync, to be quite honest.
What I like to you, oh yeah. What I like to you, honey, oh no.
To me, it's just like they mostly did the same, and the judges they didn't care for Jade. And Rebecca was at least providing like drama. Like the other girls didn't like Rebecca.
Yeah. Walk it.
When we get into the reunion, we'll get into like some other things that might have also happened during the lip sync, but I don't know. I feel kind of bad for Jade. I feel like she got a raw deal. I would have kept her over Rebecca here. So I would say based off of social media, Jade doesn't seem like super active active in the drag race world, but she does seem to still like kind of keep up with it. Based off of their Instagram, it seems like they've mostly been out of drag for most of their recent posts. And it also looks like they recently graduated from school. I think it was to become a nurse, but I'm not positive on that. I'm basing that off of the wiki. And I wouldn't say that it seems like she's retired from drag because she does still have like drag content on her Instagram. It just doesn't seem to be a priority anymore. That's my read.
Oh, put your freakum dress on. Put your freakum dress on.
And now we're on to episode 5, and we're at the top 5 as well. The girls are all very upset that Rebecca stayed over Jade. Their mini challenge is having to work with girl fighters. Like they're like boxers and stuff like that. Krav Maga. Ooh. Quite literally, they are like doing physical activity. That's their mini challenge. Is physical activity. Rebecca wins, and so she is the strongest, apparently.
She could beat up any of these girls.
And then their main challenge is that they get to make over the girls as their drag daughters. This is a classic drag race challenge right here. And because Rebecca wins the mini challenge, she gets to pick out the partners for herself and for all the other girls. They kept saying in the voiceover that she was sabotaging the girls, but they weren't saying why or how. And so my interpretation is that she was trying to pair up girls that she just didn't think like resembled each other very well. Otherwise, I don't really know what they mean by that. On top of having to make over their girl fighter, they also have to teach their girl a lip sync to a Beyonce song.
She's funny and she's very goofy, which was very frustrating to me.
So for the majority of this episode, it's just them trying to teach their girls how to be girly.
So they don't know how to walk in heels.
Be like a drag queen.
Just relax.
It's always fun. I feel like the less draggy the makeover contestant is, the more fun it is personally. And so these were actually like fun choices, like kind of tomboy girls who aren't used to like wearing makeup or wearing heels. So I thought that was fun.
My dogs is barking.
Come on.
The guest judges are Robin Anton, who is the founder of the Pussycat Dolls. The other judge is Lucy Lawless, who Rue calls as Xena Warrior Princess. And I don't really know what he means by that. Like if she's like an actress or like a voice actress, I don't know. The runway, we have BB and her partner. I think BB looks good. I don't love her partner's look, but I think the makeup looks really good. I think Chanel really did a good job like transforming her partner, and I think Chanel looks great. I can't say that I think like her partner necessarily looks great, but I do think that it's the biggest transformation out there. So however you want to take that. I do really like Nina and her partner. I think Nina's girl looks a lot like her. And I liked how Nina kind of dressed herself up as like kind of like a motherly figure to her partner. I don't know, I think the two looks just work really well together. I think Angina looks good, but I don't love her partner's look. I don't know, there's like something about it. They seem very high fashion, but I don't know, I don't love it. The one thing I'll say about Rebecca and her partner is that I do think they look like sisters. Like that's a family resemblance, I guess you could say. The look itself, it's very underwhelming. Like it's not like a great look, but I think if you were just looking at like the makeover and making the person look the most like you, then yeah, sure, like Rebecca did a good job with it. So like overall, if you were going based off of who looked the most similar, I'd go with Rebecca. If you were going off of who had the biggest transformation, I think you'd go with Chanel. And then I think like the best overall look, in my opinion, would be Nina. But then I think if we looked at like the lip sync that the girls do, and if you want to count that just as highly as just like the makeover itself,
I think they're all kind of a mess.
I'm ready. Been locked up in the house way too long. It's time to get it. Cause once again he's out doing wrong, and my girls are so real. Said it's been a minute since I had some, he's been acting up. But he won't be the only one, cause when he acts up, that's when you put it on. Get it up tight, this is your song, hold out your back, time to impress. Oh, put your freaking dress on, oh, put your freaking dress on, put your freaking dress on.
I think BB's partner did the best, and I think Nina's partner did the worst. So that's kind of interesting, because I think I would have put BB in the bottom and given Nina the win, but then I don't really know what I would do with that kind of information. I don't know. It's hard for me to pick like a winner or a loser. Ultimately, you could tell that the judges weren't feeling Angina and BB, and so that's who ends up being in the bottom. I will say, with this season, as far as like the judging goes, it's pretty easy to tell like who ends up in the bottom. I feel like they hardly ever give out more than like 2 bad critiques an episode. And so it was pretty easy to tell like who they weren't feeling and who they liked. But yeah, I get why BB and Angina were in the bottom, because personally, I really liked how Nina did it, and so I wouldn't put her in the bottom. I think Chanel had the best transformation, so I wouldn't put her in the bottom. And then while I think Rebecca's look is very underwhelming, again, I think they just looked the most similar, so I wouldn't put them in the bottom either. So this is usually kind of like a episode where people heavily disagree with what the judges did. But I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree with the bottom. Rebecca did end up winning, and I can't say that I really agreed with that very much. But I don't know, the judges liked that it was simple. I feel like she just did what they wanted out of the challenge, which they could have been a little more like outright with that they were looking more towards like a family resemblance, but
I don't know.
But basically, the judges didn't like Angina's because I guess they just didn't like what Angina was wearing. Again, this is very much like the era of Drag Race where anything not feminine equaled bad. And so they just felt like it looked like a boy in a costume, which is just a hard road for Angina being a bald queen. Like, you're trying to balance your own personal style with what the judges want. And that's pretty difficult in and of itself. And then for BB, I think it's really comes down to the fact that she more so had a concept for herself and a concept for her girl. They weren't really like cohesive concepts, and so I think that's why BB ended up in the bottom. Yeah, so Rebecca won. I think this could have been like a good opportunity to finally give Chanel the win if like they wanted her to be a contender or if they were interested in her being a contender. But I think this really was the episode where it was clear that they had no interest in crowning Chanel. And that's something we'll get into with the next episode. But so BB and Angina lip sync for their lives.
There's nothing you can do or say, baby.
And this is a really great lip sync.
I'm stronger. Come on now. Oh yeah.
Both Angina and BB do really well. But man, BB just kills this lip sync. She does a really great job.
Here I go. Stronger than yesterday. It's nothing but my way.
And again, it's like she takes off her wig, which is now like a huge faux pas. But at the time, like it was like, wow, she's really going for it. Like, yeah, she just does a good job. And Rue even like has to walk out because Rue has such a hard time like trying to pick between the two. But ultimately, BB ends up winning the lip sync and Angina goes home. Sad face. We love Angina. Like, she's a fun queen. Yeah, it's interesting that they had such like kind of an alternative style this early on in the show. But you know, I'm glad they did, because Angina, I think, was a good addition to the first season. She does return for All Stars 5, and I would say Angina is still very much a part of drag in the Drag Race world. She has over 400,000 followers on Instagram, and she regularly posts on it as well. She's very much still in the community, and we love that for her.
Hi there. I'm the delicious Miss Mandarin.
Now for episode 6, and we're in the top 4. The episode starts off just with Chanel really hating Rebecca. And I think her hating Rebecca has made her also start to hate the competition. I think in a way it's kind of like she's not getting the praise that she thinks she deserves, and it's like Rebecca is. And so it's like, well, if the judges like Rebecca, do their opinions even mean that much to me? Like, I don't know. Their mini challenge is a voguing competition, which I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I'll just trust whoever Rue says is good, because I don't think I have the right to judge voguing.
I'm a little too straight for that, if I'm being quite honest.
Rue does decide that Nina and Rebecca did the best, and so they get to do a Vogue off. And Nina wins, though the fact that Chanel was not in that top 2 really infuriates Chanel even more. Their main challenge is the ball, which this is also a classic Drag Race challenge. They must do 3 looks for this ball: a swimwear, executive realness, and the ball gown. And they're all supposed to kind of represent a different vodka citrus, and that is because Absolute Vodka is one of their sponsors, and I guess is kind of sponsoring their ball. Because Nina won the mini challenge, she gets to pick out the flavors for her and the girls. She picks mango for herself, raspberry for BB, mandarin for Chanel, and citron for Rebecca, which basically just means that Nina's wearing green, BB's wearing red, Chanel is wearing orange, and Rebecca's wearing yellow. BB starts to have a hard time with this challenge, and she really doesn't represent my own executive function. My microphone died! My microphone ran out of charge. Hopefully 20 minutes worth of charging it will get me through this video, because I just want to be done with it.
Anyway.
So BB really is representing my executive functioning in this moment. So Charo randomly appears as like a little pick-me-up to the girls, but only for them to Rupaul to reveal that they have to incorporate their real fruit into their outfit, which is kind of a strange ask if you ask me.
Like, Nina has a mango.
So it's very clear at this point that Chanel has reached the point where she knows that she's not going to win the competition just based off of the way that the judges have been responding to her. And so she kind of just doesn't even want to bother. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really blame her. I think I would have reached that point too if I was her. Like, it's one thing to feel like you're not doing as well as what you think you would have done, but like, they've never even give her a mini challenge win.
I would be exhausted too.
Especially if I'm someone like Chanel, like you do everything like pretty perfectly to begin with. I'd be mad. I'm on Chanel's side here. So the guest judges for this challenge are Jeffrey Moran, who is of Absolute Vodka. This isn't even the last time we'll see him in the Drag Race fandom. And then Maria Conchita Alonso, who is like a model, a former Miss Venezuela. I don't really know who she is. As far as the looks go, so we've got a lot of looks to go through because it's a ball, so bear with me here. I like Phoebe's executive look. It's very cute, it's very demure, it's very mindful. I think it works for what they're asking for, you know. Nina's look is interesting. I think her face looks really nice. Her face and her hair I really like, but I think the outfit as a whole is kind of a mess. Chanel looks like a bimbo executive, which I kind of like the concept. I think it's kind of cute. I thought the judges were gonna hate it, but they didn't, so I was a little surprised by that. But yeah, she's very like bimbo executive. And then Rebecca has like a suit on in like this cute little yellow top. I actually really like it. I think that's my favorite of the 4. So if I had to rank the executive looks, I would go Rebecca, BB, Chanel, and then Nina. As far as the swimsuits go, I think BB looks amazing in hers. I love Nina's hair, but again, I don't love the swimsuit. I think it's bunchy. I don't know. I love Chanel's swimsuit. I think that's so cute. I do think it's funny though. So a part of this ball, they're kind of acting like it's a pageant and they're giving little introductions.
Hello there. I am Miss Absolute Raspberry.
And you can tell that the judges are just put off by Chanel's personality.
Well, hi there. I'm the delicious Miss Mandarin.
Which I love. I think that's so funny. And I think Rebecca looks cute in her swimsuit. It's not very interesting, though. So if I had to rank the swimsuits, it would go Chanel, BB, Rebecca, Nina. And then we've got the gowns. I loved BB's. I thought hers was super nice. I really liked the mermaid ending. I don't normally like mermaid dresses, but I think she did a really good job with it. I think it looks really nice. And again, I don't love Nina's look. It's just, it looks kind of matronly to me. It looks very matronly. I did like how she incorporated the mango. Like, she doesn't have like the actual fruit. She just like kind of put the peels of the skin and made little like a little pattern out of that. I thought that was clever. But otherwise, like, I don't know. I didn't really like it. I will say I kind of hate Chanel's. But it's done well, I guess. And Rebecca's look terrible. Like, that was not a good dress. Her makeup, 10 out of 10. The dress, not it. Not it. So if I had to rank the gowns, I would go BB, Chanel, Nina, Rebecca. But really, I only think BB did well with the gown, personally. So when I averaged out all of my score and how I ranked all other outfits, it would go BB, Chanel, Rebecca, then Nina. So I would give BB the win, and I would put Nina and Rebecca in the bottom two. And what I will say is that the judges clearly liked Nina's looks a lot more than I did, which don't get me wrong, I love Nina Flowers. So I'm not mad at all that they liked her looks more than I liked her looks, but I'm just saying I wasn't a very big fan of it. It is very clear that they hated Chanel and Rebecca's looks. So it's pretty obvious who's going to be in the bottom two at this point. Then RuPaul asks her famous question.
Who should go home?
Rebecca says Chanel because she thinks she's annoying.
I like the honesty.
And then Nina and BB both say Rebecca because she lacks experience, which yeah, I agree with that. But then the iconic moment comes from Chanel.
So glad you asked me this question. I nominate myself.
Where she says herself as for who should go home. And she basically just says that she doesn't want to be there.
Because I don't want to be here anymore.
And then she goes on a rant about their negative critiques.
Because I am so real, you have no idea.
And honestly real. I'm very proud of her in this moment, you know? I'm pro Chanel.
You are beautiful. You are really beautiful.
Thank you.
No,
thank you.
You are.
That sounds so nice to hear.
She's delusional, yes. I'm not gonna deny that she's not delusional. But, you know, sometimes your delusions can be correct. Or so I tell myself, because I think I will become famous one day. In the end, BB wins the challenge, which I think is the correct choice. And Chanel and Rebecca are in the bottom and must lip sync for their lives.
But as I lift my hands, I understand that I should praise you through my circumstance. With my chains now, I can lift my hands. And I'm gonna praise you. I'm gonna praise you.
I feel like they mostly do similar, but I do think Rebecca does a better job like embodying the song. This was always gonna be a hard song for Chanel to pull off, in my opinion. So if I'm just basing it off of the lip sync, I'm very okay with Rebecca staying over Chanel. Though I do think that the proper top three would be Chanel, BB, and Nina. But what you're gonna do? Chanel basically quit. So Rebecca stays and Chanel goes home. And we see Chanel twice after this. She returns for All-Stars 1 and All-Stars 9, which that's the most recent that any of the season 1 girls have returned to, so good for Chanel. She's still very much an active drag queen. She regularly posts on Instagram where she has over 100,000 followers. Good for you, Chanel. And with that, the top three are BB, Nina, and Rebecca. Episode 7 was just a clip show. I don't have much to say about it. I do think it's funny though because they showed audition tapes of some girls that didn't get on the show.
Grr.
Hello, my name is Sahara. This is me as a boy. Yeah.
I think that I'll be good for the show. Blah, blah, blah. Because I'll bring an element of sophistication.
Hey, I'm Alaska Thunder from the planet Glamtron.
Some of them we'll see in later seasons.
Beauty, 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 beauty.
So now on to episode 8. This is our finale. We have our top 3 girls, and they are going to be in a Rupaul music video for Cover Girl, Put the Bass in Your Walk. It involves learning choreography and also performing a rap song. You could say that this was the original verse challenge, kind of.
Not as iconic though.
Honestly, it's clear from the beginning that Rebecca is struggling with everything. Nina and Bibi really aren't. It's just Rebecca. Rebecca's the only one struggling. It even gets to a point where she's like taking too long to get ready and she looks like a hot mess. And that really just gives Nina and Bibi more time to shine. So if I'm being perfectly honest, it's a very clear top 2 in my opinion.
Beauty, 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 beauty. That gets you thinking, okay, what's happening here?
I'm sorry, Rebecca.
There are no guest judges for the finale because they want only family to judge for who wins in the end. As far as the runway goes, I love Nina's jumpsuit. I think it's so pretty. And Bibi's dress is also super lovely. I think what hurts Bibi's dress is actually the lighting of this season and how it's just so bad because the lights with the camera, I think hits it in kind of a weird way. But I think if it had the current lighting, it would be a fantastic dress. Rebecca, however, she wears a bodycon for the finale. That's crazy. I mean, it's kind of like a bimbo concept, which I don't hate, but it's the finale, girl. Wear your best drag, not a bodycon. And I'm sorry, it's like kind of seeing her with Nina and Bibi. It looks ridiculous. Ridiculous. Anyway, we get to see all of their raps, and Bibi's is great. She's very much like the OG.
Face, 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 are you face, beauty face, you can face, it's okay, what's my body going say?
Face, 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 body face, I get face, 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 face. I think that's what the verse should just be. It's just her going face, which it pretty much already is. I do find Nina's rap like low-key funny because it's kind of bad.
Move your body, come on, Runa, shake that body, work the runway one more time, and let them see you blow her mind.
And I think what Nina has going for her, and this is just true about the entire competition, is that even when she was bad, she's just so charming and charismatic that like it just didn't matter. Even when she was bad, it was like, there's just something so charming about it. I don't know. I love Nina. This season really made me appreciate Nina. Like I hadn't really seen her before. I think I've seen All Stars 1 like once ever, but man, I really like Nia. Ugh. Rebecca's rap is also not great. And so Rebecca gets 3rd place. Like RuPaul just eliminates her.
For all those queens, you know, we're throwing shade, suck on that, bitches.
I think that's fair. Rebecca no longer does drag, and according to the wiki, she's also said that she has no interest in All Stars. I would say like her most notable post appearance is when Princess Poppy came to the season 15 reunion dressed as her entrance look. I'd say that's how Rebecca Glasscock really made her mark on this franchise. So anyway, Nina and Bibi lip sync for the crown, and just without the lip sync, if I were to look at both of them as competitors, I personally love Nina. I think she was my favorite throughout the entire competition, and I also think that she was the most consistent in the competition. However, I think BB did much better in this finale episode. Like, I think she did better in the music video, in her rap, and in this lip sync that we will go over in just a minute. So it's hard to say. It's like, do you crown the one that was more consistent throughout the competition or the one that did the best in your kind of like last hurrah? So yeah, they lip sync.
Cover girl, put the bass in your walk. Head to toe, let your whole body talk. Cover girl, put the bass in your walk. Head to toe, let your whole body talk. And what?
Again, I think BB just really kills it. I think Nina did a good job too, but BB just really kills it. And RuPaul declares that BB is our first winner of RuPaul's Drag Race.
It's BB.
Congratulations, baby!
And man, I miss the OG like reactions to them winning the show because like it's just so heartwarming. If you don't know, they film the finales ahead of time and they crown everyone. And then when it premieres to the whole audience, that's also when the queens learn if they won the show or not. So nowadays, their filmed reactions to winning, they still don't know if they've won or not. So they're not very genuine reactions, but it's like, this is a genuine reaction. And Nina's also just so sweet in it. You can tell that she's super happy for BB. I don't know, it's a really nice moment on the show. And they're just a really great final too.
Look, what is yours?
Jorge.
Huh?
Jorge. As in George.
Oh, your name is George?
Jorge.
Huh?
Ay, look out.
Like, again, my personal favorite is Nina, but BB is a great winner. I think she's just as great of a winner as Nina would have been for the show, and so I am perfectly happy with her winning the crown. You know, I think a lot of people have like analyzed before like why they think BB won over Nina, and I don't disagree with like those points that BB is a little more mainstream of a performer. Nina definitely has like a more alternative style. And I think the show, as its first coming out, wanted someone who was a bit more like mainstream. And BB is just very polished, she's very professional, you know, she's gonna hold that title like a winner should, you know, very regal. I think BB's like the most regal winner of the show, and I think that's so fitting that she's the first winner. So yeah, solid top two, very solid top two. Nina returns for All Stars 1. Honestly, like watching this, I would really love them to bring her for another season, like a season 11 or season 12, you know? I feel like whenever they bring back the season 1 girls, it doesn't really go over super well, but I don't know. I really loved Nina in this season. I thought she was very charming. As far as like what she's currently doing, it does seem like she still does drag, but her Instagram, she very much puts out her boy self more than she does her drag self. It also looks like she's a DJ, so I hope she's enjoying her life. BB also returns in All Stars 3. It's the first time that a winner ever returned to the show, and I very much agreed with their decision to bring BB back for All Stars 3 to have her compete, because she very much competed when no one was really watching the show. And no one really knew who she was. And she was a winner of the show. And she only won $20,000 as like the winner of the show. And so I thought that was a really great idea. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing her on like an all winners season, like an all winners 2. I think people have kind of counted her out for that because she was already on All Stars 3. And I mean, maybe she's even said that she's not interested in doing an All Stars again, but I wouldn't be opposed to that. But yes, she is very much still active in the community and in drag. Though I will say, when she was on All Stars 3, it was pretty clear that she wasn't exactly keeping up with the show itself. But, you know, you already won. Why do you need to know about Drag Race? Like, you already won that.
And I don't see you out there walking children in nature.
Anyway, I do think it's important to go over the reunion episode. Sometimes I don't think reunion episodes do much for me. They're either the most iconic episode of the season, or they're just like, why bother watching it, you know? And I would say that there's like a 10% chance that they're the most iconic episode. There's like a 90% chance that it's just kind of trash. This, however, is a part of that 10%, I will say. So first, let's just go over the runway of the girls because I've been doing that for all the episodes. Pork Chop is in a very simple black dress. She looks good. She looks good. Tammy looks as insane as always. We gotta love that for her. I think, okay, so I can't decide if I like Akasha's face and hair or if I dislike it. I think she looks better than what she did on the show, but I can't really tell. Maybe it's just because she's finally wearing like some color. Like the purple, I think works for her. Jade looks like she's wearing an H&M dress. Very par for the course for early Drag Race. Angina looks cute, we love her. Chanel wears a surprisingly underwhelming outfit. Like it's probably the most pedestrian that she's looked this entire season. Rebecca also looks like she's in an H&M dress. I really like Nina's jumpsuit. I think that looks great. I don't love the boa, but I feel like it might have just been of the times, you know.
Boas.
And BB, of course, looks great. Like, I love it. Great outfit. 10 out of 10. All right, so what makes this reunion, I think, is RuPaul himself. I've never seen RuPaul this unhinged.
Well, you may be the Jennifer Hudson of this competition.
Well, maybe. I can't belch like she does, but...
He's unhinged in this episode.
Actually, my favorite blog, Delisted, named you as a hot slut of the day.
But like for the most part, it starts off with just RuPaul going through all the girls in order of elimination, like asking them a few questions, a few things of note.
People love it. Are you like this 24 hours a day?
Crazy sticks to me. Like ribs.
For like a large part of the show, the most interesting part was just that it's clear that Jade was very pissed off by her elimination and clearly doesn't think that she should have gone home over Rebecca. And it also seems as if the other girls agree with her as well. There's also some like discourse that goes on between Jade and Rebecca, and Jade is claiming that Rebecca scratched her during the lip sync, but then Rebecca is talking about how Jade was touching her first during the lip sync. And so it's very messy. I think a lot of people say, like going back, like the reason why Jade ended up losing the lip sync, because it is kind of a controversial win, is because she started touching Rebecca first, and that made it like a contact sport. But I found it interesting that I guess Rebecca was also like scratching Jade and like doing stuff back to her. I didn't know that part. So I don't know. It seemed very messy.
I am so horrible and I'm such a bitch. Why would I give you my brand new green contact?
And them just talking about it was the best drama of the show so far. Would have been nice to see in the episodes, you know. RuPaul, I don't know what he was doing in this episode. He asks the girls who thinks Rebecca shouldn't have been in the top 3. Like, that's so messy. But in the end, Jade and Rebecca do apologize and they hug it out. So good for them. The most interesting part of the reunion comes from when RuPaul brings out Merle and Santino, and he allows the girls to critique the judges back. I can't remember if he does this for any other season, but after watching this, I would imagine that he wouldn't want to do this ever again. It starts off with Chanel getting in like a verbal fight with Santino. It gets pretty heated, and it clearly makes RuPaul very uncomfortable.
But I want to say, you are beautiful. You are the reason you're here. Can I hug you right now? This is a hug moment right now because I want you to know you are here because you are so fabulous. Please don't forget that. Please, would you hug her too? No.
I've never seen RuPaul act this way, but like RuPaul, I could feel the uncomfortability coming off of RuPaul.
So Chanel, no hug from you?
And he really wants someone to hug Santino.
Would you take a hug from him? Yes. Okay. Come on down here. Hug it out.
I don't know why, but he really wants Santino to get a hug. And And then we get the most iconic fight of possibly all of Drag Race, which is between Tammy Brown and Rupaul herself.
Because I am amazing.
You are amazing. You are amazing.
Well,
That's
we
why
don't
you're
need to feed
here.
in so much
But
negativity.
because you forgot it.
Forgot
it's
what?
not because you forgot that you were amazing.
I personally think that Tammy won.
Yes, you both call me losers. And I don't see you out there walking children in nature.
I'm very much on Tammy's side in all of this.
You forgot, Tammy. You forgot you're fabulous. Don't blame me for that. That's your responsibility.
Use your mouth.
And for whatever reason, this like really sets RuPaul off. Like he goes on like a 2-minute rant, like camera rolling 2-minute rant.
And to all you, the fact that you're here is your goddamn star. How many times do you have to put that in your head? You're a star. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. But every time somebody says to me, you can't become a star. Drag queen, I have $1 million. I know what I am. I don't forget who I am. And that's true for all of you. Never forget. Everybody's gonna tell you. No, you can't do it. There's never fair negativity. Now, we can't tell you that because you won't believe it. You have to earn it. You have to own yourself. I'm telling you now, so we get in this competition. You have to own it yourself, Dorothy. When you tell me all we have to do is because goddamn it, you wouldn't believe it. And that's why you're here. You're in this competition so that you own it. You own it. So that you process it. Oh, they're saying that thing about me. Own it. And then you get to understand that. Oh, that wasn't me. That was fair. That had nothing to do with me. That was them. And then you own it. Then you go, oh. And you know what? Every time that happens to you in life, the time it takes for you to catch yourself gets shorter. And you go away. No, that's not this way. No, we can't tell you this. You have to walk through the fire. You walk through the fire, and then you own it. You go, come for me, bitches. Come for me. You know what? You can say whatever you want because why? I'm a fierce.
And it feels very much the equivalent of like Tyra Banks's like, we were rooting for you, we were all rooting for you. And he really thinks he's making a point.
That's how I feel.
There, see, you know. That's right, Eddie. You know.
It's kind of funny. I've never seen RuPaul act this way. And I think there's a reason for it. But I appreciate getting to see it. And so after all that messiness, it ends with Nina winning Miss Congeniality, which is correct. Good for Nina. Nina. Yeah. And that's RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1. Would I watch it again? No. But I'm glad I've finally watched it. I think BB's a good winner. Nina was my favorite, followed by Tammy Brown. But BB is a very good winner. I would not discredit that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. There's a very clear quality shift when you go from Season 1 to Season 2. And I'll be interested to see how that goes. So, yeah, that's my TLDR of RuPaul's Drag Race. Season 1. So, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned more about Season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I hope it skipped over all of the boring parts so that you don't have to watch the boring parts. You just get to hear me yap about it. Yeah, I might just go ahead and go with Season 2 after this. I was kind of thinking of going back and doing the challenge, the Gauntlet 2 next, but the challenge fandom has been really making me mad lately, so I kind of don't want to do that. But I might just go ahead and go with Season 2 of Drag Race. Or I really want to say Big Brother, but these seasons are already so long to get through. I can't imagine doing it for a season that has like 40 episodes. I'd maybe do Survivor. I did try to do Survivor Season 1 a while back, but I was a bit too serious with it. I think I need to be goofy and just skip over all the boring parts. You don't need to know this. You don't need to know the details. I don't need to bore you with the details. Just the fun parts. So maybe I'd do Survivor Season 1. Or Drag Race Season 2. Or the Challenge, the Gauntlet 2. Who knows? Who knows? But first I'm gonna have to edit this and so I can get it off of my computer so I can clip more stuff for those seasons. So I've got time. But if you have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Well, anyway, I hope you learned more about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!